Stream is going. Mics are hot and that's off. All right. We are on, everybody. Hello and welcome in, everybody, to Service 27. My name is Jeffrey Calhoun, here with my co-host, as always, Aaron Siegel, Matthew Gustafson, and special guest today, head coach of the University of Arizona, Rita Stubbs. Rita, how are we doing this morning?
I'm doing wonderful. Excited to be here.
That makes me so happy to hear. For those of you who don't know, because you've been living under a rock and don't watch enough college volleyball, Rita, again, has been the head coach at Arizona for 3 years, has been an assistant for long before that, made the NCAA tournament this year, beat South Dakota State, got a tournament win. So great resume there, and has a ton of Mizzou connections. Just hired on the wonderful friend of the program, Miss Jhenna Gabriel. Was coach of Delara Gedicola for a while, as the athletic director of Desiree Reed Francois, and is just absolutely fantastic. So we are very, very happy to have her here. I guess we'll go ahead and jump in. Rita, if you want to add anything else, introduce yourself, tell the fans, tell the listeners about yourself a little more.
Well, let's see. From Cleveland, Ohio, went to school here in Arizona, was probably not the best person, but I was a true competitor, ruffled feathers all the time. I like to always say that because I am truly a new creature. And Delara was my Dee. I just talked to her yesterday. Love that kid. And I love having Jhenna on staff. She's bringing some new stuff to our program, which I think is really important. And I am forever grateful to Desiree. I know I came in under our previous head coach, athletic director, Dave Hickey, but Desiree has come in and she's opened a lot more doors for the program, which I think was really important. One of the most notable was I actually have the AD suite now. So she decided to move her office over to academics. It was kind of funny. So when she first met me, she was like, hey, just kind of tell me what you need or whatever. And I was like, well, in the ideal world, we get some different offices. I don't know how that could work out because Mikhail's in a circle, so you only got what you got type thing. And she called me the next day, and I'm like sweating bullets at that point because I'm saying, what did I do wrong that she's calling me? And she's an early riser too, so we share that in common. And she goes, hey, Rita, I think I have a solution for your problem. When you get back, because I was out of town, when you get back, come on over to my office and we'll talk. And so she decided to move her office to the academic center, which is a fabulous office, by the way, but we reap the benefits of a lot more space.
That's she's such a sweetheart. I mean, we were talking about it before we came on. I mean, she was at every sporting event. I mean, even the smallest of the small, she was there, which was really, really cool to see.
Yes.
So, you talked about, and I've talked to you a little bit about the convention with, the change that you've been through as a person and, being a new creation and stuff. But I guess I want to, start off, this last year, obviously, you go from winning the NIVC, which is a huge accomplishment in and of itself, to making the tournament, getting a win. What were kind of the biggest changes you saw as both yourself as a coach and within a program leader in that year?
To answer that question, I probably have to go back to my time at NC State where I did not show the best version of myself. I wasn't a good coach for the players. I wasn't true to myself. And as a result, there was a lot of things that weren't good. And so as a result, I was let go, and I should have been. So I say that all the time. And a lot of people go, don't tell people that. I was like, no, I firmly believe you're not someone till you get fired, because then you really see what's going on in life. But after that, I kind of wrote down all the different things that I wanted to be better at should I get another chance. Now, that another chance opportunity thought process took me about 3 years to get to after being let go, because you're kind of wounded, your pride is hurt, and you're like, I'm a failure. You go through the old pity party stuff. But after that, the head coach, Dave Rubio, who was my coach when I played and had worked for him before, asked me to come back. And so when I came back, I kind of was like, hey, there's certain things I need and certain things I don't want to do anymore. So I learned to find my voice in that sense. he was able to meet all of my needs. It wasn't anything drastic, you guys. It was like, can I get a membership to a country club? I don't know why I asked for that, but I was just kind of testing the waters. Ask me how many times I've actually gone. Very little to none. But when he was like, yeah, I can make all of that happen for you, I was like, okay. Came back and was going to be happy just being an assistant, knowing that he wasn't going to work forever. But then when COVID happened, I started doing a lot of self-evaluating. I know a lot of people lost their lives, lost jobs and things of that nature. But for me personally, it was a great time for me to discover who Rita Stubbs is and what I want. And so I started journaling a lot and asking questions. And then I was like, I want to do this again. I want to be a head coach. I'm prepared. And one of the things that I didn't do before was say out loud that I wanted to be a head coach. You know, it's kind of like I did it because everyone's like, oh, you'll be a great head coach. Sure, go do it. And so then I drank the Kool-Aid and wasn't prepared for it. But this time I was like, no, I'm going to say it out loud. I'm going to get some people to understand who I am as a person. But probably the most important thing that I discovered was that I had to have the right people around me. And those who walk in a different strength than I do, or things I don't like doing. I mean, as a head coach, you're pulled in so many different directions. Dave taught me a long time ago that it is a lonely place to be as a head coach, because it's true. There's things you can't say, shouldn't say, and you got to just keep tight to the vest, even though you're sweating and dying on the inside. So I knew to get the right circle around me. And so that first year, it was kind of rough, and I had to do some self-reflecting because I found myself going back down the path that I went through when I was at NC State. And I said, nope, can't do this. And I'm glad that I was able to discover that faster than later. Next year, we go in there and that was probably the roughest day of my life as a head coach, when we sat there and watched the entire selection show from beginning to end and did not hear our name called. We thought we had the right resume, and I'm standing in front of the team after it was over, and kind of looking like maybe they made a mistake. I turned to my husband looking for words of wisdom. He turned his head and put his head down. I'm like, man, give me something. I look at my kid, and he's just kind of like, hey, mom, giving me nothing. So I was out on the limb all by myself as I addressed the team. And I was like, that sucks, that hurts, but we have an opportunity to go do something else. Let's go be the 65th best team in the nation. And after talking to my seniors and a few other players, just to make sure they were all on board, because if you do the NIVC, you got to have everyone on board. We know that you're wounded and, you feel sorry for yourself that you didn't get to the tournament, but let's go prove to everyone this is where we belong. So long story short, being able to win that was tremendous. And the nice thing was Desiree had off the bat said, hey, do you guys want to participate in that? Which is huge, because I didn't know how it worked or anything of that nature. Luckily enough, my director of operations had just come in, and she worked for Triple Crown. So she knew the ins and outs of all of that and how to navigate it and, create the proposals and all that stuff. So, we win that, and it feels good. We're celebrating. And then, we talked afterwards, and that became our focal point going into this past season, is that let's not feel like we felt that Sunday, on this, what was that, November 31st. Let's not have that feeling again, and let's compete and grind. And, and it was still stressful, you guys. I mean, sitting there watching the show, you have a little fear of what happened in the past. So I'm sitting in the corner, Ryan's across the room, and we decide to do like a selection show, host party type thing, because Tucson community is phenomenal. They're with us through the thick and thin. But I can't tell Brooke, hey, if it doesn't look like we're going to get in, we need to cancel this. I'm just like, yeah, we're going to get in, we're going to get in, we're going to get in. But she tells the story. She had three contingency plans. One, to get me out of there as fast as I could. Should things not go the right way, to cancel it, or to run it and celebrate. So we did it. We heard our name. We celebrate. We're excited. But it's like, okay, it's unfinished business. And at the end of the day, you never sit back and relax. You never sit back and go, I got this. This is easy. It was always a grind. And winning that first game was phenomenal.
Now, Jeffrey, with Coach, you bring up NC State. We forgot another Mizzou connection.
Yeah, we did.
We did, yeah.
I'm not sure how much overlap you two had, but I will say coaches that have been sadly let go from NC State create a strong breed that we love here. Kelly Harper just got hired on here at Mizzou as our women's basketball coach. How much overlap did the two of you have at NC?
I can't really remember because I know, unfortunately, Kay Yao passed away my first year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't think Harper was the coach. I don't really remember who the coach was.
I looked up. There was about a little less than a year.
That's what it looked like.
Overlap, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I was miserable in that last year.
2009, yeah.
So it's a blur. It's a blur. It was.
That's very fair. And I wanted to ask too. This is something I remember you talked about in your workshops at the convention. You don't particularly love being called coach. You prefer to be called just Rita. And I vividly remember you saying, call me who I am, not what I do. As much as, being a coach means to you, and as important as, finally being able to say, I want to be a head coach, as important as all as that is, why is that, call me who I am, not what I do mentality important to you?
Because who I am is where I came from and what I endured in life, and what I do is just what I do. So I always add to that is, if I'm acting like a donkey that day, that gives you the right to call me a donkey, and I wouldn't allow that. So just call me by my name, and and I understand there's a few athletes who want to call you coach, and I don't say don't call me that. I'll just say you don't have to call me that. Just please call me Rita. But if they insist on it, like I have a player that just transferred in, she's from Texas, which means everything is yes ma'am, no ma'am, which I truly appreciate because that's how I raised my kids. They were in North Carolina for that time, and that's what they understand. And we could never call an adult by their first name growing up. It was always, that's why you got so many aunts and uncles and people that's your cousin, but you couldn't call them by their first name because they were so much older. And so it's just a sign of respect. I get that. But at the end of the day, you can call me Miss Stubbs, is what I tell people. It's okay. But yeah. And truth be told, I would rather be called by my full name. However, most people mispronounce it. So in lieu of that happening, just call me Rita.
Yeah, that's the thing is I'm 99% sure I have the pronunciation down, but I'm so scared of mispronouncing it. I would just stick with Rita.
Yes.
For everyone else, what is the correct pronunciation of your name? Because I have heard it wrong before.
It's Charita.
Charita?
Yeah,
Okay.
It should probably have 2 R's in there, which would help it out a little bit. But I'll say, hi, my name is Charita. And they'd be like, hey, Charita. And I'm like, I didn't say that.
Yeah, yeah, I would have guessed wrong.
I definitely guessed wrong before we met for the first time. But, this is, as all three of us have varying levels of broadcasting experience and have all been on air. And one of our biggest pet peeves is mispronunciations.
Yep.
The worst was we have a player, or I guess she's a former player now, but with the last name Demarais. Very French, but we have heard everything from Demaris, and like there was one game we were watching one time where I think the announcer changed the pronunciation every single time he said it, and none of them were right. So making sure the name is correct is important. So if we can get a few more people to say Charita correctly.
Good job.
Thank you. I was really scared to do that. But that's the goal, is to get the pronunciation right as much as possible. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think. We have so many questions that we want to ask and so little time. I guess we'll go ahead and jump into with your coaching career and stuff. Now being a head coach, we talked about it before coming on. You just hired on the wonderful and the amazing Jhenna Gabriel. Our listeners have obviously heard us rave about her constantly. She came on staff a couple years ago. And it has been fantastic to us. I guess where does your relationship with Jhenna Gabriel start?
Probably back when she was in high school. She came to camp here and wanted to be a Wildcat. And that year, I think we had like 5 or 6 setters at camp. And, Dave was trying to figure out who the one was that he was going to select. And to hear Jhenna tell the story, she was like, yes, I was ready to commit. And then the setter that we ended up getting, Julia Patterson, had her meeting before Dave, and she committed on the spot. And so, she comes out happy, and Jenna's looking like, oh, but, I think it worked out for her. She went on and had a phenomenal career at Texas and then finishing off at UNLV. But that was the start of it. And then I had actually interviewed her for the job the year before. And she turned it down because she was there with Dawn and whatnot. And so it was like, oh, that's twice now, and then the third time's a charm that it worked out. And I think it was the right timing for it. The role she held at Mizzou this past season, I think better prepared her for the role that she would step in and do. I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason. It may not feel like it at that point in time, but in hindsight, I think it was the right thing for her to do and the process she went through.
Yeah, we've seen her grow a lot as a coach, and sad to see her leave, but happy to see her in a great new home.
Yeah.
And you said, obviously third time was the charm. How did that third time come about? Was it you reaching out to her? Was it her to you? Or
Well, it was a little bit of both. I'm once you're in my phone with a photo and the whole 9 yards, and so very respectful for what she was doing. But as soon as the season ended, I said, let me reach out to her again because I didn't fill the position. That was the key. Had the position been filled, and I tried and I looked and just didn't see anyone that filled all the boxes that I needed to be filled because once again, I remember me and I know me and I have to have the right people around me. We like to have fun. I like to have people that want to work hard. I'm not a micromanager by any stretch of the imagination. And if I have to micromanage you, that means I need to do your job, which means I need to draw your paycheck, which means you don't need to be here. So I knew I wanted someone that was confident in who they were and what they were able to bring to the table. So reached out to her, we talked through it a little bit, and it went pretty fast at that point.
Yeah, it felt like it moved fast. What have you seen? I know it's only been a few months and it's still off season, but what are some things that you have seen, both expected and unexpected, that she's bringing to the table that you think are going to help the program?
Well, I think the biggest thing she's bringing in is the knowledge of setting. I think athletes nowadays need coaches who have street credit in terms of what they did. Most need to be able to have played that position because, they're crazy enough to ask you to do some things that it's like, hey, I don't understand. And I think that way myself. So she brings that to the table. She was in charge of the offense at Mizzou, which is very important. She understands the dynamics of how not every attacker needs the same set. And just how to change things up. But she is a great person, great personality. She's a hard worker. So, all of that is great. And I was expecting that. What I was not expecting is her, and this is really said with love, is her inability to drive in a garage. So it is the running joke right now that her turning left in a garage is absolutely unbelievably hilarious. So we went to go get boba tea one day. It was her, myself, and our director of ops, Brooke. And so she decided to drive. She thought she was just going to go, but we were like, no, we'll go with you. Great boba, by the way. So if you ever guys come to town, we'll make sure we take you.
Okay.
I end up getting matcha tea. I don't like those little balls. Ugh. Okay. Anyway, so we're in the garage coming back, and we're like, Jhenna, turn left. And she's like going straight. And we go, no, left. And she goes, you guys, I'm afraid in the garage. I don't like garages. It's just too much for us. So it's become the running joke. As long as you don't tell her to go left, it's okay. Now, mind you, you can't go right. So you got a 50-50 chance of getting this right, straight or left, and she opted to go straight. So kind of funny.
I will definitely bring that up next time I see her.
Yes.
I have to say, that is not the answer I expected, and that is I adore. That is fantastic, and that is fun. And no, I mean, the offense here was just incredible, and this one thing we always talked about in the off season was if we might have concerns about second string liberos, we might have concerns about right side, especially last year, but center was never anything we had a concern about. I mean, huh? Now there's a little bit of nervousness. What'd you say?
They're returning somebody who was the starter on
Yeah.
the NCAA tournament team.
Yeah.
Now there was a little bit of a gap between what you started last and now, but you've also got a player, Nina Mandovic, who has a lot of international experience too.
Yeah.
So
You lose an all-SEC player, I think it's the hardest.
but that
You lose an all-SEC player, it's
depth.
still hurts.
It just speaks to the depth of setter,
Exactly.
the setter position on Mizzou.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, she's built some good players and some people that are going to the pros, and so have you. And I guess that was one thing I was I'm not sure I want to say surprised, but the sheer quantity right now of Wildcats in the pros. I was doing doing my homework beforehand, and I believe if my research serves me correctly, across the various leagues across the world, there are 8 Wildcats currently in the professional.
Sounds about right.
That's at least what I saw that was posted before, a couple weeks ago. I think a couple have moved a little bit, but across the various leagues, both stateside and not, there's a lot of players, and to varying degrees, I believe you're connected with just about every one of them.
Yes, they're all still in my phone, and I actively speak to all of them.
I love that. That's so fun. And yeah, I mean, I guess that builds to my next question, continuing to have a relationship with them, seeing all of them do pretty well in the professional ranks. How has that been for you, seeing these women that you've built up succeed?
Honestly, having a league in the States has been phenomenal because, truth be told, I think we would have had more had it been more opportunities stateside. We've had a few that went over for a year, and I was like, that doesn't work too well with me, just for whatever the reason is. And so they didn't extend their career. But now that there are opportunities here in the States, players, in my opinion, are willing to go overseas for potentially a year with the hopes of being able to come back and play in the States if they don't get picked up right away. But it says a lot to me. We've always had players, in my opinion, that were capable of going further with their career, because we were in the past, we used to get the players that weren't necessarily the best right off the bat. They just needed a little bit more time, and with the COVID year, players develop and they get better and stronger, and then that allows you to bring in a different clientele of athletes. Whereas Dave's formula was always get the raw athlete that was coachable, and he could teach them to play volleyball. I don't think that method works as easily now because of the portal, because of the desire to get on the floor right away. You don't see a lot of players redshirting, or at least saying it out loud. You'll hear about it on the back end, which is probably when you should hear it, in my opinion. I mean, because there's no documentation that you sign that says, "Ooh, I'm a redshirt." It's just you'll have that extra year at the end of it all. So to see all the players that are competing and exceeding and doing well in this sport, I think is huge. And the fact that I can pick up the phone at any given time and get one of them on the phone and just chat is really important to me.
Rita, I want to ask you, we talk about the transfer portal and developing these relationships and building retention. When you are bringing in players from the transfer portal, how do you feel you're still able to establish that connection compared to when you're having a 4-year player in your system?
I think it's pretty hard. I mean, I'm going to be transparent about it, just because you don't know what you're going to get. Typically, if a kid is leaving a program after their freshman year, it's because they didn't get to play or because they have unrealistic expectations. And then if you get a kid that's older, do they want to come in and really get better? Or are they just looking to get whatever financial gains they can get? You know what I mean? So that's always a little bit different. But I'm very honest and transparent with the athletes, as I am with all my athletes. I tell them that If I'm bringing in a transfer, it is with the anticipation that you're getting on the floor. I don't look to bring in a transfer to sit on the bench. I can go get a high school kid at the end of the day to sit on the bench. And so I need someone that's experienced. And so we go after players that typically have the experience and that need that we have. So losing Jordan Wilson to graduating, we knew we wanted to get someone in here that can get up and terminate a ball, you know, and have the heat to be able to terminate a ball. Now, whether they can do it at the level Jordan did right off the bat, I'm not looking for that. Now, if I could, great, I'll take it and run. However, that's not always as easy as you think. When we had our one setter going to portal unexpectedly, of that class, we knew we needed to get someone in here that had experience playing, so that narrows your field just a little bit. So I am always honest. We break our team up in groups, and so I have the seniors and typically the new transfer, because you know that relationship with me, for them to understand who I am. Either they know, or I need to light a fire, or they're new coming in and they need to understand. I have that group, and then my staff has other players in there. And, you know, we're just constantly talking, and we're that first point of contact. So I know, for example, my outside hitter transferred in. I'm her first contact if she has any questions, and she needs to have that contact with me. And that's not to say she can't go to other players, and not to say other players can't come to me. But it's kind of nice to know that you have a person that's just for you.
Fantastic.
Should we talk about next year a bit?
Sure, I did have one more question.
Oh, you got one more? Okay,
and
then we can talk about next year.
You know, I guess one thing I'm curious about is, you know, you said, you know, every one of those players that's in the pros right now, they're still in your phone. And I know there are, you know, obviously we talked about Delari Edicola, but there's a couple players who spent some time with you and then went to other programs. What is that relationship like with players who have gone to different teams, gone to different schools, and how you can, you know, been able to continue to foster those relationships?
Well, you know, that people that come to mind right off the bat are Mai and Sofia Maldonado Diaz. That's how I say her name all the time. So they graduated from here, so they're a Wildcat. Once you've been on our roster, you're always a Wildcat. You'll always be someone that we'll look out for. But because their experience was good, you know, in Sophia's situation, she was like, Rita, I'm looking to finish my 5th year, do my 5th year somewhere else. But I'll tell you, there are certain schools I won't go to. And as long as she said those list of schools, I was pretty excited that those were the places. That's right. Yeah. She was like, no, I won't do that. Even though her setter from Mexico went to school there. And so, you know, they were after her for sure. But, you know, and then Mai, her brother went to BYU, you know, she's LDS. And so it made sense. And they went on and had phenomenal careers. I mean, look at Sophia. She went to the finals. And so what did we do? We cheered for Louisville like nobody's business because we were cheering for Sophie.
Bill!
Aaron is a diehard Louisville
best school ever.
Okay, the funniest thing about this, Aaron has never once seen the
No,
city
he
of
has no
Louisville.
connection to it. He just
Has
loves
never
that.
seen the University of Louisville. I've been to Louisville like half a dozen times in my life, but he is the Louisville.
Let's go. Sorry. You said my trigger word.
Yeah,
Get
you
me
did.
ready.
Okay.
I cut you off.
And the last time I was in Louisville, I went, okay, we have to go to the student center, and I had to look for a T-shirt that said the Ville. We found it.
Yeah, it's like
I don't
we're
think
running.
you
You know,
want
all
this
the freshmen say the bill now because of our promo.
Really?
Yes. Like I
Yeah,
was
I didn't
with
know
CKD and Dale, and they were like, Louisville.
I love that. I love that. Okay.
I haven't seen you wear the T-shirt on the show this festival.
I mean, I brought it. I use it as a rally towel.
He does use it as a rally towel. He almost knocked over a microphone
Yeah.
one time.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, back to Rita and your connection with your former players.
So nonetheless, it's one of those things that, you know, because they had a good experience, a good relationship, they still reach out. I actually have Mai's ball over there, and she gave me one of her jackets from when she was playing with Mojo. And Sophia still comes back to Tucson. One of her good friends is just finished her career, so she comes back all the time, and that's what you want. You know, I just talked to Dee Dee yesterday, and Kat Pillipek is the only one that hasn't been back. Actually at all. So, you know, hopefully she'll get back at some point.
Well, because she's in Eastern Europe, isn't she?
Yes.
Remind me what team she's with again.
I don't know the team, but she's from Croatia, so
Okay.
she's doing well. So we talk via social media.
Little farther away than Dallas for Sophia
Yes.
Mulvey. It's a little bit more of a trip. A little bit more of a trip. All right, Matthew. You said you wanted to talk a little bit about next year. What you got?
We talked kind of about building through your own players, having players that have been there for multiple years. And last year, that's really what stood out to me with your team, was you could tell that was a talented young team that was building on the year before. And I kind of get that sense from this upcoming season too, where I think you've got 4 players returning who started at least 10 matches, 3 who started at least 20. And that's obviously before we even get to your starting libero. And Brenna, is it Ginder or Gender?
Ginder.
Ginder, okay. That's like the GIF debate, is it? So, okay, Brenna Ginder. So with that in mind, and then obviously the portal additions that you brought in, what are kind of your hopes and your expectations for next year? I think is where we'll start off.
Well, my hope and expectation, I actually have over there our 2026 goals for the season. As a staff, we sit down and we talk about where we think we can go and where we think we need to be. At the end of the day, we want to earn points. Desiree kind of started that. She has an expectation for each program, and we adapt to that. Our goal is to get to the NCAA tournament. Our goal is to finish in the upper half of the Big 12 conference. The conference is phenomenal. It's tough. We have a lot of great coaches that are doing some pretty phenomenal things, and winning the conference is not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination. But we know that by finishing in the upper half, that should put us in a position to be invited to the NCAA tournament, which is, like I said, a goal. But, some of the other things that we're hoping to do and planning to do is to average over 3,000 fans. We were just over 2,000 this year. And so that means a lot of getting out in the community, because it's a community-based program. But getting out in the community, talking, being on the radio, going to, just doing different speaking engagements, things of that nature, and to make everyone excited about who we are and what we're doing. But more importantly, to get the players out there. So, we just launched a new society last year. It's called the Sorrel Society, and it's for donors. And we had 3 of our players, 2 actually spoke on the panel, talked in front of these individuals and kind of say, this is what Arizona volleyball is about. This is what we need. And then I followed up speaking that afternoon. But I'll always go back and share with the athletes what's going on and how to get involved and how to do the things that are necessary. And that's one of the things that I think that makes us a little bit different than other programs, is that everyone gets an opportunity to do something to grow what we're doing, which is part of our goal. With 2 new staff members, with Amo and Jhenna, it's like, okay, Ryan, it's our responsibility to get them acclimated, get them involved, get them in a position where they're comfortable right off the bat, because they know who we are and what we're about. But at the end of the day, what I tell recruits is if you like me, which I don't know anyone who doesn't like me now, but if you like me, you'll like what we're about and what we're doing, and we'll just run with it.
And you mentioned growth there. As a head coach, obviously the last 2 years, completely different world in collegiate athletics with NIL, the transfer portal, revenue share, and everything else that's been new. How do you as a coach balance having your young players, trusting them to develop into those roles and take that next step, versus the possibility to get some more proven production players that have already started elsewhere in the portal?
The portal kids are kids that we look to bring in to fill a need we have. And that's not a knock against them, but it's more of a need. When you're recruiting kids out of high school, they just want that loyalty. They want someone that, that believes in them from beginning to end, that is going to stick with them as they grow. I just went through the recruiting process with my son. He's a basketball player, and I went on a visit with him, and I came back and I gave all the details to my team, because I'm like, yo, this is way more stressful than I could have ever imagined, and I can't say where he's going just yet because he hasn't signed, and it becomes all kind of issues there. But nonetheless, going through that process and talking to the coaches, hearing their ideas and hearing how basketball is so different from volleyball, but how volleyball is following down that path, honestly, it's a little scary because of the things that they are experiencing. And so with the players that are young, you walk them through it because that's what parents want. It was very stressful as he is a senior, a stressful process because he just wants an opportunity. But because everyone's going to the portal, they're going to the prep school, they're going to the junior colleges, they're going for the G League players in certain situations, that just moved the high school kid down the list. And we don't have the prep schools quite that way. And most Power Four schools don't rely on the JCs as much. But otherwise, we're dealing with the same issues that is happening in basketball. And so talking to the high school kids that you're important, you're valuable, and if it doesn't work out in the beginning because they find something that's a little bit different, when they go in that portal, I'm still that thought in their head, hey, that's an opportunity. And for me, that's all that matters.
And with the portal, I think we've seen some teams where they will build basically a brand new team each year. Sometimes it works like we saw last year with SMU, and sometimes it doesn't quite work as well as we may have thought. Like UCLA, I would argue, was kind of in that basket last year. So with being a team that has almost exclusively homegrown talent, what would you say makes that the better approach to building a team and building a program, whether that's in general or specifically for you at Arizona?
Well, I think it's about the administration, honestly, because, in certain situations, winning right off the bat, winning big is the number one priority. And I'm not saying Desiree doesn't want that. She wants to win. I want to win. We're competitors. So please don't think that's anything other than we want to compete. But we want to be in it for the long haul. Going in the portal is, sometimes it's a grab. Every kid that we've gotten out of the portal up until this year was a kid that we had some previous relationship with. Mo, our transfer from Albany, we did not. She wanted to go someplace bigger, did phenomenal things at Albany, but wanted to play someplace bigger and, experience a little bit more of competition. That's probably the biggest thing. So we aligned with that. And then, Peyton, she wanted to see how good she could be and how far she can go and had a phenomenal career at Virginia Tech. And so when you win, you get opportunities and maybe doors will open more the more we win. I don't know. But I like the idea of developing talent. I mean, we like that. I like seeing a young kid, Journey Tucker, who's on our team now, who no one knew anything about coming from Buckeye, Arizona. Most people don't even know what that is. But then coming here and doing a phenomenal job and being a stud in the middle where everyone's like, hey, who's that kid? But because we believed in her, she believes in us. And now the key is making sure you can keep those kids because the vultures are out and I'm not crazy.
No, that's very fair. The poaching is definitely an issue I've seen and is an issue we've seen everywhere. But sadly we're running a little low on time. We got about 12 minutes. We'll start picks here in a second, but I do have one question I want to ask. And if I'm going to be quite frank, I don't have a great segue into this. I was double checking, making sure I had everything right, reading through your bio and everything. And one thing that popped up on your bio was that you were the coach of the Pac-12 All-Star game in China twice. I don't even know how to properly ask a question about that. I've never seen a conference all-star game, and I've never seen it be international. I guess, I gotta hear about that experience and what that was like.
Well, so the Pac-12 decided to have an initiative with China. I think it happened 3 years. So the first year, Mick Haley was the head coach. So I was never the head coach. I was always the assistant.
Okay.
And each school got to select a person to go over and compete. And that first year, it was Maddie Kingdon, I believe, who went on that trip. And, it was a great opportunity. We're trying to explore and broaden our horizon, if you will. The next year, they was kind of like, the coach couldn't go twice, the same coach. Well, I love to travel and, bucket list. And so I put in and I actually got to go. I can't remember who went the second. It was at Clay. I thought Clay and Mackenzie went at the same time, but I can't remember who went that first year. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on that one. But nonetheless, get there and it was cool. I loved it. And ASU was slated to be next, but the coaching staff changed. And so they were looking for someone, and a lot of people were like, I don't want to go to China. I don't want to go to China. I was like, oh, I definitely want to go back. So the third time was even better than the first time. The second time I went was better than the first time because they decided to treat us like, I'm gonna be honest, like basketball. And so how we flew there, where we stayed, it's like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. And so lo and behold, when we flew business class, which I'm like a snob now. If I'm flying that far, business class or first class, don't give me the back. And not that it was bad before. I had an aisle seat, so it was fine. But business class, I got to lay down and watch movies, and I got to walk to the little food area. But the connections, the relationships that I formed, because Mike Seeley, who used to be the head coach at UCLA, was the coach my third time, and then it was Jim Moore when I went the first time. So nonetheless, it was really good, and made connections with each and every one of those players. And I would do it all over again. If the Big 12 ever said, hey, let's go to a different country and whatever, I'm in on it. Which I'm actually going to Africa this summer. So.
Ooh, that'll be fun. Where in Africa are you going?
Tanzania is one of the places. I probably should know better information about it, but through a program, Come Fly With Us. Actually, Jeffrey, you might have heard it. The guy did a presentation right after I spoke on that Sunday.
Yes, Leslie with Let's Keep the Ball Flying.
Yes.
He's fantastic. We've been talking potentially about getting him on the show as well. He's been fantastic. Get him on. We talked to him a ton. Yeah, he's been great. We wanted to ultimately get the camera set up before we do, so he's probably someone I will reach out to soon to get on the show. He's awesome.
Yes.
But great program there. So we got about 9 minutes left. One thing, Rita, if you've paid attention to us at all, we each week we do game picks for 10 games varied across the leagues and levels. And we always have our guest pick as well to get their perspective, but it becomes very competitive between the three of us.
I'm the reigning champion.
He is also in last place right now.
I missed 2 shows,
you
bro.
Could have entered your
my
picks.
goodness.
You had the time.
I'm almost starting to think that he intentionally didn't put in his picks that week so that he could say, I missed 2 shows.
I am 3 games back from second place, and I missed 2 shows. I'm 3 games back.
Well, we'll do better this week. To start things off, 2 great games in love. You talked about Maddie Kingan. We are big Houston fans here because of Maya Sands. First game tonight, Houston at Austin. Rita, what are you rolling with in that game?
Well, I'm going Houston. I mean, I don't even know why I was pausing right there. I mean, it's all about Maddie Kingdon. I love her. That she wore number 9. I wore 9. Come on.
I love it. I'm also taking Houston. Matthew and Aaron, they've picked incorrectly. They're both going with Austin.
Look, this is a series where there are 2 matches this week. And Houston, they've been a little bit up and down recently. So I'm going to go with the home team in both of those matchups. So I'm taking Austin in the first one. Then Houston gets their revenge at home in the second.
I think they split as well. I have both the home teams winning. I've been very high on Austin. since last year. We know how I feel about this team. They're very, very talented. I love O'Neal. I love Skinner. I think this is a very, very talented team.
Back?
I'm sorry?
Is O'Neal back?
Yeah. She's still there. She's still kicking.
Yeah. So I love both those teams in that team in Austin. So I'm gonna rock with Austin at home and then Houston at home for the next game.
Yeah, and I guess in round 2, I'm rolling with Houston to go 2-0. You taking Houston 2-0 as well, Rita?
Taking Houston.
Bang. I love it. Moving on into Major League Volleyball. Another one of your players, Sofia Maldonado Diaz, going on the road, taking on the Orlando Valkyries. How you feeling about that one?
I'm feeling like, Dallas is going to do well. I'm feeling the pulse.
All right.
I'm rocking with the Pulse as well. I mean, last week, the Pulse messed up my picks. I went with the vibe, and I learned my lesson. Fool me once, shame on me, right? So I'm gonna go with the Pulse in this matchup too. I'm gonna rock with you, Coach.
I'm sorry, Coach. I'm picking against you.
Yeah,
again
I got to
in
do
this
it too.
one.
I'm sorry.
You know, the Valkyries, I think they haven't played up to their full potential this season, but there's still time for them to get there. And close matchup like this one, I'm going to take the team that I've got on papers, the better team and the team at home. Both those cases, it's Orlando, so I'm taking the Valkyries.
Moving down, the Atlanta Vibe at the San Diego Mojo, two of the most sporadic teams in the league. I'm going to go with the Mojo, though. They've been on a huge tear. I like what they're doing out west. Give me the Mojo in this one.
San Diego has won each of its last 3. They're 2-5 on the road, but they're 5-2 at home, and this one is in San Diego. So give me the Mojo.
I'm going with Leah Edmond. That's my baby. So she played for me in middle school. So I'm going with her. She's going to ride this.
Yeah, I have the Vibe as well. I think that the Mojo are just so inconsistent. And we talked about this team last year as well. I like the Vibe in this matchup. I'm rocking with the Vibe.
Moving down, I feel like I have to put them on picks just because they're the best team in the league, even though I feel like it's going to be a sweep. Valks at Ignite. All 3 of us are taking the Indy Ignite. They have just been an absolute wagon. I mean, under new coaching staff, they're just going through everyone. I'm taking the Ignite here. So are the 2 of them. Are we making it a full sweep?
I'm taking Ignite.
As good as the Valks are, the Ignite are another level. And then moving into the men's volleyball side of things, a California rivalry, UCSD at UCSB. We have a former coach who played for the Gauchos. We're all taking UCSB, which I think is very exciting. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
I'm standing out on my own. I'm going for UCSD this time.
Okay.
All right.
Why?
Okay.
Because I love the underdog in this situation.
All right.
Okay.
I love it. And then LA matchup, USC at UCLA. UCLA has been a wagon all year long. They are undefeated. They beat Long Beach State twice. But USC put up a serious fight last time. But I think UCLA is just going to be too strong on the men's side. Give me the Bruins in this one.
I'm going UCLA on. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, that's the thing. They pushed him to 5, but that one was at USC. This one is back home. This one is at UCLA. And, I mean, they've been so good this year. Much as painful, because that was my hot take before the year was USC might be better than UCLA.
Told you
that
were
was my
wrong,
hot
bro.
take.
I told you were wrong.
You know?
Horrible take. It's still a horrible
Prove me
take,
wrong.
yes. I had the Bruins winning. Like, I've been on this team all year.
Right.
I think you say it's
Oh,
really good.
you've been on the preseason #1 team all year.
Yes,
Ooh.
as you should. Don't go
Found
back
the
on your
kitchen.
take. You said they were bad. No. All right, let's go on.
When I said they were bad, I said they were going to be 4th in the country. But anyways.
All right, moving on.
Another big one, Pepperdine at Hawaii. I guess technically yesterday, because the game ended at 2 a.m., Pepperdine went on the road and stunned the Rainbow Warriors. I'm alone out of the 3 of us. I think Pepperdine's going to do it again. Give me the Waves. I think they knocked down the #3 team one more time.
No. They won't lose twice at home. They're coming back.
Yeah, that's in Hawaii. This one is at home. That team is just too good
And
to
the
get
Rainbow
caught
Warriors
off guard
as well.
twice. Yep.
Am I biased because my dad went to Pepperdine? That's not relevant.
You're biased.
Maybe a little bit, but it's fine. And then McKendree at Ohio State. These 2 know how much I love Nikki Sandlin. She's a sweetheart. I love what McKendree's done. I'm taking McKendree in this one.
Yeah. But
I think that McKendree might just have a little bit of momentum right now. Ohio State's a little bit cold. I don't feel too good about this one. You're already shaking your head over there.
You're so wrong.
You're already shaking.
So
I don't feel
so
great
wrong.
about this one. I'm going to ride with the momentum, and I'm going with McKendree.
Okay, where are they playing?
Ohio State.
Okay,
you know
thank you.
what else?
That's all you need to
Ohio
know.
State has lost each of their last 2 or 3 matchups at home.
And is that going to be a consistent thing? No, it's not. You don't do that in college sports. You don't lose consistently at home unless you have a really rough team. You're not going to lose another one at home.
Almost.
Give me the Buckeyes.
I'm going with the Ohio State being
Thank you.
and plus my former assistant's there. I'm going to give him a call after this and say, hey, make sure you pay. I got my money on you.
Yes, we need that to win.
Last one.
Matthew,
definitely-
put it in there. Matthew doesn't get a pick.
What?
No,
I
you're
literally-
not there. You don't get
I
it.
literally
That's the
just
rule.
put it in like 2
No,
seconds.
no, 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 you don't get it.
He
No,
put it in 2 seconds.
no, I did not. No, I did not.
I am just
No.
doing this for the love of the game and the cause
Okay,
it
This
you don't
is
get
beach
it.
volleyball. Correct?
Yes, this is beach
Okay.
volleyball. Arizona State versus Nebraska.
No, you don't get a pick, Matthew.
Well, let's be honest. I would never cheer for that team up the road for anything, but they're gonna win.
Oh, I was hoping you'd rock with the Huskers in this one.
No,
No, Nebraska does not have the most bona fide beach volleyball program, but
they're doing something different with that. So
oh yeah, 100% they are. However, I'm gonna take Nebraska for the love of the game. But that is all the time we have. Rita Stubbs, head coach of Arizona, thank you so
Thank you.
much
Thank
for
you.
joining us today. We appreciate your time. We appreciate all of your insight, and we hope to see you again soon.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Thank you.